What is President Donald Trump's Liberation Day, and could it mean a global trade war?
This is the beginning of Liberation Day in America. We're going to take back just some of the money that has been taken from us by people sitting behind this desk or another desk that's not quite as nice. And we're going to charge countries for doing business in our country and taking our jobs, taking our wealth.
Here's everything you need to know, including what it might mean for your pocketbook.
The president has previously referred to April 2nd as Liberation Day, Tariff Liberation Day.
What President Trump is calling Liberation Day.
For some time now, President Trump has been referring to Wednesday, April 2nd as Liberation Day. While many of the details remain a mystery, what we do know is that he plans to announce a number of sweeping new tariffs on U.S. trading partners, and that he plans to reveal the news in a press conference at the White House Rose Garden.
On Wednesday, it will be Liberation Day in America, as President Trump has so proudly dubbed it. The president will be announcing a tariff plan that will roll back the unfair trade practices that have been ripping off our country for decades. He's doing this in the best interest of the American worker.
So how many tariffs is Trump planning on announcing, and how do they differ from what he has already imposed? The newly revealed Liberation Day tariffs will be on top of the already imposed 25% taxes on Canadian aluminum and steel and its auto industry. And it would be in addition to existing tariffs on Chinese auto imports, but also in the categories of lumber and pharmaceuticals. The Rose Garden announcement is likely to include reciprocal tariffs, which means adding an import tax on countries which already tariff the U.S., and will include a list of countries that will be targeted. In terms of how many new countries will be named, that's the big question. The tariffs could be aimed at a select group of countries which the Trump administration blames for the bulk of U.S. trade imbalances. The Trump team calls these countries the Dirty 15. This refers not to 15 specific countries, but more generally to the 15% of countries which comprise the bulk of U.S. trade imbalances, and that dirty group includes allies.
They've taken so much out of our country, friend and foe, and frankly, friend has been oftentimes much worse than foe.
The United States has the highest trading deficit with China. Other countries in the Dirty 15 group include our neighbors Mexico and Canada, European trading partners like Germany, Italy, France, and Sweden, and Asian economic powerhouses like Japan, India, and South Korea. Data from the U.S. Commerce Department suggests other likely members to be Thailand, Switzerland, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Austria, and Ireland. There is a real possibility that the number of countries targeted for tariffs on Liberation Day will be much bigger, global even. That's according to President Trump himself.
You're expecting to hit something like 10 to 15 countries, is that right?
No.
All countries? All of the countries.
Is it across the board?
Not 10. I don't know. Who told you 10 or 15 countries?
Well, we heard that. So we heard that you were going to aim for the 15%.
But you didn't hear it from me.
Okay, so how many countries will be in that initial tranche?
You'd start with all countries, so let's see what happens. There are many countries involved.
On the Russia?
I haven't heard a rumor about 15 countries, 10 or 15.
So you're starting with all countries?
Essentially, all of the countries that we're talking about. Wouldn't be talking about all countries. It's not a cutoff.
According to a report from the Washington Post, the White House has drafted plans for a 20% tariff on most goods imported into the United States. The anticipation of Liberation Day has led to a flurry of speculation and panic from various political figures and economists who are not sure what to expect.
Do you think there's more pain to come now that we have more tariff uncertainty?
I just think the uncertainty is going to continue.
Tariff uncertainty.
There's a lot of uncertainty.
John, I've learned to expect the unexpected when it comes to tariffs.
Some countries have made preemptive moves to try to protect themselves from a trade war. In advance of the announcement, representatives from key Asian trading partners, including India, South Korea, and Vietnam, have traveled to Washington to discuss better ways to better balance bilateral trade. Meanwhile, the ambiguity of the Liberation Day announcement and what might come next is being felt by CEOs, investors, and everyday U.S. consumers, as experts caution that these tariffs could cause a recession. Many economists suggest that the intent of these tariffs could backfire if costs rise and sales fall. Critics, including international economists, argue that tariffs could push up inflation as costs from importers are passed directly to American consumers.
But if these tariffs are put in place, it is going to hurt Americans.
Anyone who has a 401k is going to be hit because the stock market is already hurting. Anyone who needs to fill their car up with gas is going to be hit. You are going to be putting tariffs, a tax, on the oil and gas and electricity that we sell you. Totally absurd. Your grocery prices are going to go up because you know what you need to grow food in the United States? You need fertilizer. And 80% of it comes from Canada, and you're going to put a 25% tax on it?
A note to clients sent on Sunday by Goldman Sachs warned that these new tariffs and new tariff rates could slow economic growth and raise inflation, as the bank raised their odds of recession in the U.S. this year to over 35%. So far, the stock market hasn't reacted with confidence to Trump's tariffs. In March, the S&P 500 saw its worst month since 2022, losing 5.8% of its value. Many business owners are also becoming anxious, especially in the auto industry, as a tariff threat of 25% on auto imports loom.
Investopedia says this: if dealerships pass on the full cost to consumers, that would mean an additional to $5,000 to $15,000 on imported cars. And because parts that are imported and end up in U.S. cars, they could go up substantially, some estimates by thousands a car as well.
This is just creating confusion and apprehension in the market, and that's not good for our industry.
These reciprocal tariffs could cause confusion given the complicated nature of the auto industry supply chain, where parts can crisscross the U.S.-Canada border multiple times before a car is completed.
The idea from the president here is that there would be more tariffs levied on imported cars to the United States, but what you need to know is that nearly half of all vehicles are imported to the U.S. They rely largely on foreign parts.
According to President Trump, he couldn't care less if Americans end up paying more for foreign-made vehicles.
In an NBC News exclusive, President Trump addressed fears that car prices could go up, telling Kristen Welker, quote, "I couldn't care less. I hope they raise their prices because if they do, people are going to buy American-made cars, and we have plenty of those."
Unfortunately, the effects might not be isolated to just new car sales.
Well, Colton, rising car prices would boost used car demand and those prices as well. And then Americans might keep their cars 2 to 3 years longer, and that would increase the average age of vehicles on the U.S. road, and that means repairs would be more likely.
Even for Americans who don't plan to buy a new or a used car anytime soon, Trump's Liberation Day tariffs could have immediate impacts on their wallet. Grocery prices, especially that of fresh produce such as strawberries, tomatoes, and avocados coming from Mexico, are predicted to rise significantly. And since Canada provides 70% of the world's maple syrup, those prices are anticipated to rise. The typical American household could end up paying more than $3,400 more per year, according to the Yale University Budget Lab. All of that said, figures within the Trump administration have argued that these tariffs are necessary in order to reset the economy around an America First agenda. And they believe that the money raised from the tariffs, which they think could be more than an astronomical $6 trillion, could be given back to Americans as a rebate down the road. White House Senior Counselor for Trade and Manufacturing Peter Navarro sees several upsides to the tariffs that benefit the White House's mission.
Tariffs are tax cuts, tariffs are jobs, tariffs are national security, tariffs are great for America, tariffs will make America great again.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has argued that the tariffs are needed to help bolster domestic industry.
He wants to bring back manufacturing to the United States. And we are putting these tariffs on. So with critical industries, we are going to bring that production back home.
Trump, of course, has touted the importance of American manufacturing for years.
We want to build, create, and grow more products in our country using American labor, American goods, and American grit. When we purchase products made in the USA, the profits stay here, the revenue stays here, and the jobs, maybe most importantly of all, they stay right here in the USA.
And the administration has made no secret of the fact that they think it's about time America fights back against countries they believe are treating the U.S. unfairly with a massive trade imbalance.
What does the president think, and what does he tell those who are concerned, and certainly a market that still looks concerned?
Well, President Trump doesn't want American industries to survive. He wants them to thrive. And that's exactly what his tariff and trade policy is going to do. He is going to end the decades of unfair trade practices that have been ripping off American workers. It has hollowed out our middle class. It has turned the American heartland into an American wasteland where jobs have gone overseas. Products are made with foreign hands instead of American hands. That is going to end on Wednesday, and the rest of the world is going to feel what the American public have felt for decades.
For now, it remains to be seen what countries will be named by President Trump on Liberation Day and what the full impact of these tariffs will be, both in the short term and further down the road.